Ready to make some extra cash? We've got you covered with our Week 6 best bets. Let's go.
Let's go.
Hey guys, welcome back to another Betting After Dark episode. We're going over our best bets for week number 6. We're going to be talking a lot of gambling here today, so thank you guys for tuning in. I'm your host, Calvin Timms. You can find me over on Twitter at TDC_Calvin. You can find my co-host, my baby sister, Sam Timms, Sam Sarl, still at Sam Timms99 on Twitter. She's not a Timms anymore, but we still claim her, I guess. How's it going, Sam?
It's going good. I just have such a legacy.
As a Timms?
As a Timms, yeah. That we agreed I didn't have to change my Gmail or my Twitter.
Yeah, she has such a legacy. We've indoctrinated her husband to no longer be a Sarl, but to become a Timms. So,
No.
But
No.
Last week, hopefully you guys checked out the podcast last week. If this is your first time checking us out, thank you very much for tuning in. We're going to be going over some betting lines that we like for this upcoming week. Before we get to that, we're going to talk about some gambling advice, bad bets versus bad beats, knowing the difference and how to kind of analyze your process as you're going through here, because we're all going to miss, obviously. Nobody's 100%. If you are, give me the keys, please, the secrets, because I would love to be 100% on all my bets. But sometimes, you place a good bet and you still get beat. And we're going to talk about that a little bit there. Before we do that, though, if you can, follow the podcast. We're on YouTube at Dynasty After Dark. You can find us over there. The podcast is also on Spotify, Apple, Google, Rumble, anywhere that podcasts are really found. While you're there, if you can leave a comment down below, if you can like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're going to be putting out, we have the fantasy content with me and Dale, my co-host Dale. That's going to be coming out once the off season hits. We're going to be talking a lot more dynasty with rookies and players in the off season, rankings, values there. But then Sam and I are going to be continuing the sports betting every week and just giving you bets that we like. So if you guys want to make some extra cash, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and tune in every week. So that said, how are we doing today, Sam?
For sure. I'm good, bro. How are you doing?
Not too bad. We're
excited for the weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be a lazy weekend. The weather's starting to cool off. If you're in the Midwest like us, it's rainy and starting to get cold and kind of crappy weather. So it's going to be kind of nice on Sunday. We just get to chill and have some football and.
Yeah, I got to go to work for my last 3 in a row, but
there you go.
After that, we'll be smooth sailing. Guys, it's notorious for my husband and I to never have the heat on. And as soon as my brother comes to the house and it's below 60, he goes to my thermometer or my thermostat and adjusts that to 72 himself.
This woman is a psychopath. She's psycho. She doesn't have heat on unless it's like 50. She's like, oh yeah, if it's under 50, I'll bump it up a little bit. But
Yeah, but then he just walks on in, he turns on my thermostat, turns the heat up, he walks into my snack cabinet, eats as many snacks as he wants.
That's right. It's older brother privilege. Let's go.
Leaves trash everywhere.
Let us know. This is a perfect chance to comment down below. If you're watching this video, what is the perfect thermostat temperature in your house? If you are under 60, get out. I don't want you watching this channel. You're a psychopath.
64.
You're going to murder me sometime. All right.
Megan just says you're a little weak.
Yeah, I hate the cold. She
says the slightest breeze, and he turns on.
Oh, yes. I hate the cold. All right, let's get into some advice here before we go into our actual betting lines. We're going to talk about bad beats versus bad bets. Now, again, everybody has misses, but you need to be able to self-evaluate and understand where, your process went wrong versus just getting unlucky. And that's where Sam, I think, can help kind of break that down, because as a newbie to betting, that's one of those things where it's like, well, did I just miss on that, or was it a bad bet in the first place? And, for example, last night, the perfect example that you can kind of talk about, Sam, was I bet Denver last to score in the game against Kansas City last night. Kansas City goes down, they kick that field goal, and Denver gets the ball back. They're running down the field, have a chance to score the game, score points. Samaje Perine causes a self fumble, and they turn the ball over, and the game's over. So I lost that bet. It felt like a good bet the whole time until it lost, right? So
For sure.
what is your take on bad bets versus bad beats?
It's definitely a personal thing too, just based off of you as a gambler, but I would say something like that is definitely a bad beat. If a player misses a prop by like 2 or 3 yards, that's a bad beat. It's not a bad bet because obviously it's right there. I would say a bad bet is placing something like if you were to say, "Oh, Mahomes threw 3 interceptions last week, so I'm gonna bet that he does it again." That's a bad bet.
Right.
Just statistically, that kind of stuff is not going to be happening with a player like Mahomes. So something like that is what we would classify a bad bet. A rage bet. Anytime you rage bet, that's going to be a bad bet because
Sure.
I guarantee like 90% of the time it's going to lose. You're going to be even more mad. Another just example of a bad beat would be the West Virginia Houston game last night. The spread was at -3 at really good value for West Virginia. They covered it until Houston threw a Hail Mary to win the game, making the loss to West Virginia 4. And so that was just, I mean, I know that West Virginia would need another touchdown and everything, but that's just, I mean, a Hail Mary in college football in the last seconds of the game, that's just
Right.
insane.
Right.
So the West Virginia, that would be something that very much is a bad beat. I would say bad beats like hurt your soul a little more, where bad bet make you so angry.
Yeah, and bad bets are the ones that feel like the riskiest ones for your bankroll, right? Because if you're just betting poorly, and another bad bet, and this is something you might have already internalized this, but as someone who's fresh to gambling, right? One thing that feels like a bad bet, and it's starting to become more apparent, but like coin flips, right? Where like not the actual coin flip, but like not the actual coin flip, but like bets that are very close. Like I bet last night that Russell Wilson would have 2+ passing touchdowns, right? Over 1.5 touchdowns. And
tried to tell you.
yeah, she did. And I missed on that one. And it's like, that one was so close. It's, 1 or 2.
But it wasn't because he couldn't even throw one.
He got one though. He had one. He had the one to Sutton, right? But, that's such a 50-50, you know what I mean? It's like barely, if he gets it, you're like, oh, that was great. But it's not necessarily good process for that, right?
Well,
and like,
those are the ones where gambling lingo would very much be like, well, that was a sweaty bet.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the middle ground.
Right. And
where
like
it's the ones where you really like sweat.
Right. And odds and evens is another one, right? Where like, what's the point of that? It's just completely random. You have no idea. You have no control over that. So that's the one thing I'm finding is like, if it's close to 50-50, it's probably a bad bet unless it's amazing odds. Like that's the only way it's worth it for 50-50 bets.
Right.
So,
right. Well, and that ties into how we broke down the lines last week.
Right.
Because most of the bets that we like to look at, there's a 70% versus 30% chance.
Right.
So
yeah. Trying to get the safer ones.
That's just kind of understanding.
Yep.
Yeah, that's understanding lines. And personally, if you're someone who's betting, like one of my friends, she, for fun, bet the color of the Gatorade at Super Bowl.
So stupid.
Just for fun. And it's like, if you're someone who's betting that kind of stuff, like, just get away. Like, you're ruining the statistical and analytical part of sports betting that
right.
people like us love.
Right.
Where it's like you said, there's literally there's no way to know.
Right.
Wow.
And you have no way to
color
control that
is purple.
it's not rigged, right? Like Vegas could
Exactly.
100% know what the Gatorade is going into it and just move the lines around until they get as much
Well,
money as possible. Like they
and
could
that's what people
know.
have to know. Like that's what people have to know is Vegas sets these lines.
Right. And the
So
teams
when
can
people
see
say
them.
stuff, yeah, if people say stuff is scripted, I don't think referees are calling games.
No,
Maybe I
no.
think that when the Bengals play the Chiefs, but who wouldn't? Because the
Right.
Bengals are my team. But anyways, Vegas sets the lines beforehand. So if you see something that you're like, oh wow, that seems really good, it's
And
probably a
Vegas,
trap.
yeah, Vegas usually knows, right? For the most
Yeah,
part. They can't
Vegas
do player
Vegas usually
props.
knows.
They can't do player props, and that's why I like these a lot, right? So,
Hmm.
all right, so let's get into our actual lines for this weekend. Now, college, I think there's only one that you really wanted to talk about was Notre Dame versus USC. Um,
Yeah.
big money is on. Everyone seems to be on this game right now. You're a Notre Dame
Everybody's
fan,
on Notre Dame though, which is
yeah.
surprising.
The line
Yeah.
is shifting like crazy. Yesterday we were looking at it and it was plus money for Notre Dame. Today it's plus money for USC. I think USC is going to win. You kind of think USC is going to win as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, it breaks my heart, but I just I don't see Notre Dame's defense stopping Sam Hartman. And
Mm-hmm.
that comes from somebody who's seen their defense in person for some of these really pathetic teams.
Okay.
Uh so I just don't see him stopping Caleb Williams. I could be pleasantly surprised. Clemson was crazy last year. I was at that game.
Mm-hmm.
Giant upset. But they also had Michael Mayer.
True.
And he's doing good things in the NFL right now. So
He's starting to.
yeah.
But
He's a
USC,
rookie.
yeah, true. USC is plus 132 money line to win that game right now. So we just thought that was really good value when we think they're going to win the game anyway. So being plus money to win against Notre Dame, like I get it, it's a whole hype game and everything, but it just feels like too much value there. And the line's
Yeah.
shifting. So it might go up because, like you said, everybody's on Notre Dame. So just watch that. But if you can get it at positive money, I think it's worth it for sure.
Yeah. So I'm a Notre Dame fan and I just want to enjoy the game and not be extra mad like if I lose. So I'm not going to bet on that game at all tomorrow. But if
Oh,
I were to,
I'm throwing a fiver on USC for sure.
yeah, if I were to bet, I'd put money on USC. Or even like Caleb Williams rushing. I don't know what that's at, but
Yeah, there you go. All right, so a couple bets that we like for this weekend. We're going to give you some straight bets, a couple of parlays, and then a couple of one that I'm going to talk about here at the very end. That's a little bit of a surprise. So a couple of straight line bets that I like a lot this weekend, and I got two for the first game here. Three for the first game. So Sam Laporta, anytime touchdown, plus 230. And Sam Laporta is a rookie tight end for the Detroit Lions. They're going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and this should be a pretty fun game. Sam Laporta, anytime, he's been scoring like crazy all season long, breaking a lot of rookie records for the tight end position. You know, tight ends usually start pretty slow. Laporta's come out. He's looked incredibly well. And yeah, he's scoring every time they get to the red zone. It feels like all season long. So plus 230 odds on a touchdown for Sam Laporta felt too good to pass up. Another
I'll
bet.
probably jump on something like that. I would be my only concern with that is, and you even said this earlier, is I feel like a lot of people will be on that just because of
Mm-hmm.
him statistically this year, and you have to be careful with that kind of stuff because Vegas pays attention to.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
like
And yeah.
so like if a lot of people and if you follow people on Twitter who are verified and they're getting like they post bets every day, a lot of them are fade guys, which means you do whatever you can to absolutely not bet what they bet. Because these guys place awful bets on
Mm-hmm.
awful lines because they're sponsored by books.
Right.
So none of it's ever their money that comes out. You have to
Hold
be
up.
careful.
Okay, we're good. All right. But yeah, you're not wrong. And that's where
Anytime touchdowns is like as risky as home runs or anytime goal score in hockey. It's
yeah,
definitely something that like it's just a huge risk.
it is a
They're a
risk.
huge risk, so you have to be careful with them.
Right.
A lot of people like hit one and they're like, oh man,
Right,
oh.
right. But yeah, no, you're not wrong, and that's where you got to wonder too. If something seems too good to be true, Vegas, they could be fluffing those odds a little bit to make incentivize people to bet, knowing that it's a bad
Mhm.
bet, right? So just be wary of that. But I do like Laporte. He's scored quite a few touchdowns already this season, so I just thought it was
For sure.
pretty good odds for plus
I mean,
230 in this game.
I'll probably try it.
I mean,
Why not?
I was gonna look at him real quick. He has scored he scored 2 last week and 1 2 weeks ago. So decent odds for plus
Yeah, not
230.
bad. Not bad.
Um,
What you want to be careful with is when like somebody's scoring a goal every single game and the odds go down to like minus 150.
yeah, yes, yep. That's
Because like,
basically
see,
Christian
Christian
McCaffrey, right?
McCaffrey is at that. Yeah.
Another bet for this game that I like a lot is going to be Jared Goff over basically one interception, plus 130 odds for that. Tampa Bay has a interception in every single game that they've played. They're coming off the bye, so they're a little bit fresh right now. Jared Goff went, I think it was like 16 games or so without throwing an interception. It was a very long stretch, and he has since kind of turned it a little bit into a pumpkin in terms of his interceptions. And, he threw 3 straight, didn't throw one last week, didn't throw one in week number 1, but weeks 2, 3, and 4, he threw a pick in every single game. So I like
Yeah.
that this is kind of the perfect combination of opportunity meets situation where Jared Goff plus money to throw a pick against a team that's getting picks in every single game felt like too good to
Yeah.
pass up there.
Yeah,
And
that's killer. And just like the way that you broke it down statistically and analytically is like a gambler's dream. Because, with Goff and an interception, I want to know what Buck's defense does. I
right,
want to know what his line is at. I want to know the last time he threw an interception and how often it's happened. So like the way that it's broke down, like you did a lot of research for that, and so I feel like that's something that I'll tail. So it's definitely something that is a very good bet in my opinion.
nice. And then the last one for this game, I like both of these teams. I think both teams are going to come out pretty hot in this game. And the first quarter, Lions versus Buccaneers, over 7.5 is plus 102. I think that both teams are going to be pretty hot in this one. So I think there's going to be plenty of points to be scored. So that felt like it was a pretty good bet. I'm not, it's not one that I would be hammering, but I think that it's a good, throw one unit on it, whatever your unit is. I would throw one on it, and if you win, you're doubling your money basically. So felt like a good one for the Lions. They've beat the over in the first quarter, I think 3 of their 5 games, just on their own. Like they've scored more than 7.5 on their own, right? So I think that was a very good one to bet in this one. What are some of your bets here?
So one that I'm on heavy this week that I'm gonna put the hammer down on, CJ Stroud over 1 interception. It's the 0.5. And the odds for that are plus 124.
Sure.
So I really like this. I know because of the media, I know what he's doing, and I'm pretty sure he's had like 187 passes without throwing an interception.
Right.
Guess what? When the media blows that stuff up, an interception's coming. So if it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't happen this week, you better believe I'll be betting on it again next week.
Sure.
So something like that. CJ Stroud is good, but it's bound to happen.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
bound
he's
to
a rookie
happen.
too, right?
Yeah, he's a rookie. I can't remember who the Texans are playing.
The New Orleans
Remember?
Saints.
The Saints, right. And the Saints are easily a defense that could do that to him.
Yeah, the
So,
Saints haven't been good this year offensively,
Mhm.
but their defense has been top notch. So, I
Yeah.
think that they're going to be able to create pressure and just put them in a bad situation, one bad throw, and there you go.
Yeah. Well, and these guys, like, they try to say media doesn't pressure them and stuff, but it does
It gets
the
in your
long
head,
run.
right?
Yeah. The same thing's happened to Sam Hartman for Notre Dame. He 14 games or something that he hadn't thrown an interception. It was like the Notre Dame record, right?
Mm-hmm.
Next game, he throws 2 interceptions.
Right.
So it just happened. He throws 2 interceptions and it was against Duke. I
Yeah,
know Duke is not bad college wide
right.
this year, but Notre Dame should be better.
For sure.
So that's
For
just
sure.
kind of why I'm gonna hop on that kind of thing. I've been sending my Discord screenshots every single time I see this CJ Stroud stat,
Yeah.
and so far, 5. So I just really, if it doesn't happen this week, take it again next week.
For sure. And like Goff, we just talked about, right? I think he's going to throw one, but he went, whatever it was, like 16 games in a row. Everyone's hyping him up.
Yeah.
Oh, how long is he going to go before he throws a pick? Next game pick, right? So,
It never fails.
yeah,
Never
right.
fails.
So, yeah, I like that. What's another one you've got?
So I also have the Falcons Commanders game over 42. The value for that is minus 112. I think that's really great value for two teams that are probably going to score the heck out of each other.
Yep.
Both of them are very capable of scoring, like we broke down. It's 21 points each, so 24-21. That seems like a very easy game for both of them. They both also have had very high scoring games.
Right.
And their defenses comparative to like their offense, I don't think it's anything that's going to slow one or the other down.
Right. I don't think so either. They're good defenses. Washington, they're kind of polar opposites. Washington, their front is a little bit better right now, but their secondary is weak. For Atlanta, their secondary is pretty strong, but their front is pretty weak. But 24-21, I think that's definitely doable. Washington scoring like crazy. Atlanta scoring like crazy. They're hard to keep down. So I like this one a lot. So much so that I actually have a bet for them as well. Washington versus the Falcons first quarter over 7.5 plus 144. Again, we talked about how both of these teams, we think this is going to be a little bit more of a barn burner than Vegas kind of thinks it is. And I think a lot of it has to do with the quarterbacks. Desmond Ridder looked really, really good last week. Sam Howell has looked pretty good, except for, I think he's had a couple of bad weeks here and there. But both of these guys are kind of underrated, and I think that's what's leading to Vegas being a little bit more down on these guys. But yeah, if both of these guys we think are going to be coming out hotter, and we think the score is going to be higher, 7.5, 1 touchdown, 1 field goal, 3 field goals, feels pretty doable at plus 144. Again, this is one where I would be hammering it in, maybe like multiple units. I'm not experienced enough to tell you exactly how many to bet. Like I don't have the algorithm or anything like that, but I'd say probably like, my unit right now that I'm betting is $5, right? So it's not anything crazy, $5 to $10. I'd be putting like probably 20 to 30 on this one just because I like the potential returns on this one so much.
Okay, so when you want to break something down like that, I normally play a $5 unit as well. But if I really like something, like tonight, I did a NHL play that I liked a lot, put 20 on it, and I hit it. So I like it. But something that I would do for that to get plus money would be CJ Stroud's interception. I would be willing to put $20 on the plus one for it because I'd probably get a payout of like $5, $24. So
yeah, so you'd win 45 total, right? So
net so my total
of
payout
25.
So that's something that I feel comfortable with.
Nice. Do you have any other bets that you like this week?
Yeah, we should talk about the Chargers alternate spread because that's a really good one. The Chargers spread right now is at plus 2.5.
Right.
And that's at like 112 or something. If you change the spread to plus 3.5, so the Chargers win or they lose by a field goal. Excuse me. The line for that is at minus 158. This is something where, like, if you get a promo for 50% or something, even 25%, yeah,
right.
like a boost, use that because I feel like this is something that it's even something that you could like put $10 on, you'll get 5, so you have a payout of 15, and it just feels safe. Like it feels very safe.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert is so underrated. He's about to get Eckler back.
Dallas is coming off a very bad loss.
Very bad loss. They don't have Trayvon Diggs still, right?
Correct.
Right. So, because Justin Herbert can be such a weapon.
Yeah, and
He really can.
the Chargers are coming off their bye, so they probably game
Yeah.
planned a little bit. So no, I like that one a lot. I think the Chargers are going to win this one. The money line for this one is interesting at plus 110, 120, I think. So, if you can get negative odds on them to at least be within field goal range, that's great odds in my opinion. So, my last player prop straight line bet is going to be Justin Fields over 195.5 passing yards at minus 115. If you look at Justin Fields on the entire year, there's only one game where he hasn't thrown for at least 200 yards, and that was against the Kansas City Chiefs. They are playing the Minnesota Vikings, who are absolutely terrible. The Vikings don't have Justin Jefferson, so I think that the Bears also don't have Khalil Herbert. So, their only running back that they have right now is Deonta Foreman, and I don't even remember the other guy that they brought in to be their depth guy this week. So Justin Fields and Deonta Foreman are their only running backs. They're going to be trying to throw the ball quite a bit, and they've been doing that all season already. Like Justin Fields has been trying to move the ball down the field. Again, 4 out of 5 games, he's been over 200. So you're giving me 5 yards on his, he hasn't, it's been over 200, like 211, I think is his lowest game other than that one game against Kansas City. So, you're giving me 15 yards at minus 115. I like that a lot.
Yeah. One thing we should talk about is stay away from Brock Purdy bets.
Yes. All San Francisco bets are risky this week.
Yeah.
Sam and I were talking about this a little bit before the podcast. But Kyle Shanahan in his entire career has struggled against Jim Schwartz defenses. And this goes back to when he was an offensive coordinator. His dad kind of struggled with these type of defenses as well. I'm not going to lie to you and say that I understand these defenses. I'm not an IDP guy. I don't follow them that closely, but this is something that I've heard as well. And kind of it does track when you look into it a little bit more. But Kyle Shanahan has always struggled with them. He doesn't know how to crack them for whatever reason. So I get it that it's more enticing to bet San Francisco lines because the Browns don't have Deshaun Watson this week. He's going to be out. So, people are going to feel like they want to bet on San Francisco, but I think that it's a trap play by Vegas because Brock Purdy was coming off a very good week. The Niners killed the Dallas Cowboys last week, but I think that the Browns are in another league than the Dallas Cowboys defense right now. And when you pair that with Shanahan struggling against this defense in particular, it just all adds up to do not bet this. It feels too risky.
Definitely. So this is kind of where we talk about Vegas being tricky, like he said, because Purdy's touchdowns over 1.5 per plus money. If you watched last week's game and you better, and honestly, I didn't know the statistic that he said with Shanahan and the Browns defensive coordinator, but that would be something to me where I'd be like, oh yeah, that's easy. But when you break it down a little more and you learn that kind of stuff about Shanahan, then realize, yeah, that could be a very big trap because Vegas is definitely saying, well, he only needs 2 touchdowns. It's plus money. You bet 10, you get 15.
Right.
So it's a $25 payout. So yeah, I'm staying away from that. Pretty like that.
All the Niners. Like I just think this could be a very back and forth, like 3 and out. We're going to get the ball. We're going to run the clock, So I'd be avoiding a lot of the Niners betting lines. They could definitely hit. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they're not going to hit, but it just feels too risky given the history between the two.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any more straight bets or are you good?
I'm good.
Okay. I got a couple parlays for you guys that Sam and I talked about before the podcast. The first one is going to be a same game parlay. Again, going back to the Washington, this just pairs right into it. The Washington Commanders versus the Atlanta Falcons. Jonnu Smith over 29.5 receiving yards at minus 120. And then Curtis Samuel over 33.5 at minus 115. If you parlay those two together, I think you get like plus 210, if I remember right.
Yeah, something like that.
And if you look at the stats of these two players, so Jonnu Smith, he has not yet on the season where he's played a game and gotten a target. So to be fair, week 1, he had no targets, but ever since then, he's had at least 6 targets in every game since week 1. So I will say week 1 is probably the outlier here. Every single game, he has more than 30 yards. So, we talk about free bets sometimes. This felt like a free bet for Jonnu at 29.5. I get it. Washington's been a little bit better, but Jonnu Smith is they're running through him and Kyle Pitts and Drake London. They're using these guys a little bit differently than normal for the tight end position. And then Curtis Samuel, again, felt like free money. His over-under was 34 yards. Every game except for one this year, he's been over 34, 54, 19, 54, 51, 65. So he's been comfortably over 34 yards all year long. Pairing those two together, again, just feels like a great opportunity of a parlay to get plus money on those two players. And then the other parlay was going to be Sam's alternative Chargers line plus 3.5 for the Chargers at minus 158, plus the Chicago Bears at minus 108, their spread at plus 3. So Bears plus 3 against the Minnesota Vikings. I think the Bears have a very good chance of winning this game. So, plus 3 just felt too good to pass up. You parlay that with the Chargers, who again, I also think they're going to win that game. You get a nice little healthy plus 200 or so bet that you can parlay those into each other.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any parlays you wanted to talk about, or?
I haven't. If anything, I'll post a parlay on Twitter later. I haven't been in the lab to cook anything up.
There you go. And then the last thing that I wanted to talk about was a couple anytime bets. And this, again, goes back to the Atlanta Falcons. When I know Sam doesn't like anytime bets too much, but one thing that I kind of like with the anytime bets is if you have a team like the Denver Broncos last night, where you basically have like 3 weapons on the entire team, right? And they're all very high plus odds at an anytime touchdown. To me, that's too good to pass up, because if one of them hits, they pay for all the other bets, essentially, right? And you can bet all of them, you pay for all of them, and you get some profit on top of it. And if 2 of them hit, then you're just massively in the red, right? So the 3 that looked very interesting to me, again, we talked about Washington versus Atlanta. We think that it's going to be an over game. We like both of these teams, which means that there's going to be touchdowns galore. I think Bijan's a little bit of a trap play this week because Washington is so good up front. And their secondary is very, very weak, right? So Kyle Pitts is anytime touchdown of plus 225. Jonnu is 320, and Ritter is plus 340. So all 3 of those guys, if you were to put a $5 bet on all of them are returning at least 15 or more dollars, depending on which one you would hit. Like Ritter would be 20 some bucks, right? So if one of them hits, it pays for all 3 of those bets. And if multiple of them hit, you're just massively in the green, red, whatever, black, whatever the terminology is. But that's just one. If I'm betting the anytime touchdown for these guys, I'm betting all 3 of these guys or none of them. So, I am deciding whether or not I'm going to place that bet. I probably ultimately will place like 1 unit on Pitts, 1 on Jonnu, 1 on Ritter. One of those guys is going to get a touchdown. So, just figuring out which one it is. And maybe you can swap Ritter to Bijan, for example. So you have literally all the weapons. But Ritter, he does have the rushing upside. It felt pretty good at plus 340.
I mean, I just think if you're going to bet something like that, you really got to feel good about it. And you've really got to know the sport.
Right.
Like you tried to bet home runs last night.
I tailed home runs.
Yeah, like if you do not know, don't do that.
Yeah, right. This one I feel more confident on because, somebody...
Well, football.
Right. If somebody's going to score points for this team, it's going to be Bijan, it's going to be Jonnu, it's going to be London, or it's going to be Pitts, right? There's not a ton of weapons on Atlanta, which is why I like the anytime bets for these type of guys. You know, for the Chiefs, for example, it could be one of 7 guys at any point in time, or Travis Kelce.
Yeah, that's so annoying.
Yeah, so if you have multiple weapons like that, but when you have a very condensed offense, I like taking some of these chances a little bit more. So.
Yep. That's kind of interesting too. How, just in general, we have a lot of tight end prop plays and prop looks, and they factor into decisions we make about lines or spreads.
Right.
Because the tight end position is just so crazy now. It's almost a wide receiver.
Some of them are terrible. Some of them are great.
But it seems like the younger generation of tight ends, they're wanting them to look for. Like a Kelce, it's just kind of becoming that new standard.
Right.
Or maybe so coaches aren't afraid to play them like that.
Yeah. It's changing for sure. Talent is definitely going up in the NFL at the position as well.
It's just so crazy to like look at props, and like a tight end's props is receiving yards is like 40 yards. That didn't always happen.
No, but the touchdowns, that's where it's those are a little bit more predictable, and that's where they're a little bit more enticing.
Well, that's like how you said Cole Kmet too.
Yeah, when we were talking before the podcast, but it feels a little risky, but it is good odds. I think it was like plus 230 for Cole Kmet. So if you're interested in that one, but any last bets you want to talk about, or are we good?
I'm good.
All right. Any last thoughts before we get out of here?
No thoughts.
Go USC.
Go Notre Dame.
Go USC. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us here tonight. Betting After Dark. You can find us over on Twitter again one last time at FF After Dark. You can find myself at TDC_Calvin. My sister, my co-host here at SamTims99. We'll work on getting her Twitter at change. But until then, you can go follow her over there. We're going to put a couple of these bets out there on the Twitters as well. So if you're interested in any of these bets, make sure you comment down below which ones you like, which ones you don't like. We're going to be tracking this all season long. So make sure you follow along with us, and hopefully we can make you guys some money. So until next time, thank you guys so much for joining us, and have a good night.
And we all got dreams, we all want things, but what you gonna do for it? How you gonna move for it? What you gonna be?